I finally read The Troop by Nick Cutter, and I really want to let you guys know my thoughts on this book, a little review, my issues I had with this book, and how conflicted I feel after reading this book. So if you are interested, then let's get into it. Okay, so I finished reading this book maybe a couple weeks ago. So it's The Troop, Nick Cutter. This book basically follows a group of Boy Scouts and their scout leader, and they go to a remote island and they are just practicing, you know, scout things, survival and doing the usual things. And then one night, late at night, an unknown man, ends up stumbling onto the island. Now the scoutmaster is like, you know, I could deal with this. He's a doctor as well as the scoutmaster, so he's like, I can deal with this, you guys just, you know, hide away, I'll deal with this, I'll see what he wants, blah blah blah. And it turns out he's very, very sick. And the sickness that he has is very strange. He is aggressively hungry. Like, he just came from eating a diner too, and it kind of talks about how the diner people were like, I've never seen someone eat that much food and still be hungry after. And so there's a little bit of really cool build up to that, and kind of introducing this unknown man and how hungry he is, and it really stresses like he just needs to eat. Like, he will eat anything at this point, and I mean anything. So yeah, he stumbles upon this island, he's like, I need food, have you got any food? And the doctor guy is like, yeah, I've got some food, you know, and trying to help him as much as possible and trying to kind of diagnose like what the issue is. And he ends up just getting more sick, like by the minute, by the hour. And this is gonna be like a spoiler-free review, so I don't want to go too far into what happens in this story because I really want you guys to read it for yourself. But yeah, it's this really mysterious illness that turns out to be way more aggressive and way more sinister than you think. This is not some simple illness. This isn't just like starvation or anything like that. Like, there is something inside, there is something horrific and disgusting and gross going on with this person, and this sickness is also highly contagious. So they're on this remote island stuck with no means of escape, and there's this group of kids and the scoutmaster trying to deal with this man. Pretty much just all hell breaks loose, and as the story goes on, you start discovering like what this illness is about, and basically like that's pretty much what this book is about, more or less. Okay, so I will start with the pros of this book and then I'll go with the cons. Okay, so the pros, I love the way it was written. This is my first book that I've read from Nick Cutter, and I was really impressed with how detailed the writing is. It's very creative, and I was very easily able to imagine what was happening in my head, which I really enjoy. So I love that, love the writing style. The pacing and everything was great. The world building, the character building, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I also loved how this book really explored loyalty. It really explored the friendships. It gave me the feels of the friendships in It. You know, the book and particularly the movie, it reminded me of those kids and how close they were, but how they always had that banter and kind of bullied each other a little bit, but in a friendly manner. That's very much what the kids are like in this book, and I really like that. It's very heartwarming. It also makes the events that unfold in this book even more tragic and sad, but I really enjoyed seeing the growth of these kids and how they really had to step up and be adults at the age of 14, and how they were scared but they had to really kick into their survival instincts or what they've learned from their scoutmaster. That was really amazing to read about and to witness, so I do like that. And I really just like how creative the story is, like the plot and the premise. I haven't read anything like this, and this is certainly a book that is absolutely going to stick in my mind. I don't think I'm gonna ever be able to forget about this book. So I guess that's a good thing. I guess it's maybe a bad thing, but I'd say it did its job. It definitely scared me and made me feel uncomfortable. So given that it's a horror book, it did its job. So I'll give it that. Now I'll go on to cons now. So the cons, and this is why I feel like I'm just waving around this book. One of these days I'm going to end up like whacking myself in the face of the book. In regards to the cons, so my biggest con, number one con, is there is a section in this book, and it's a bit of a trigger warning by the way. There is a section in this book that involves a cat, and it is not good. And I really cannot deal with a story that involves any kind of violence towards animals. And it was quite surprising because I feel like there was no kind of build up to it, or no like trigger warning there. And I guess maybe that's my own fault. I guess I should go into books and research the trigger warning, so I do not blame the author for that. That's on me. I should have researched that. But also, yeah, I wasn't aware. So there is a section here that involves a cat, and there is violence towards the cat, and I really had a hard time reading that. I actually had to stop. And because, like I mentioned earlier, this book and the writing is so incredibly detailed, it is insanely graphic. And that scene too with the cat is insanely graphic. So just a little bit of a warning there. Please check your trigger warnings and research a book, which is something I wish that I'd done. But I actually had to stop reading in that moment, and I ended up actually getting really upset. I went to my husband and I was like, I can't read this. I don't think I can finish reading this book. I think this is going to be a DNF. At that point, I genuinely thought I wasn't going to finish the book because it disturbed me that much and it upset me that much. I actually have 2 cats myself, so I really have a hard time reading about stuff like that. I'm like getting upset just thinking about it, but yeah. That wasn't for me at all. That was a really big no-no for me. So the book, I had to knock off a few points for that one because I am not a fan of that. I did end up sleeping on it. I woke up the next morning and thought, you know what? I am too intrigued about the story and the book as a whole to give up just over that. And even though for me it was a big deal and it was awful to read, I'm still curious enough. And I need to know. I need to know what happens. I need to know what happens at the end and how the story plays out. So I'm going to continue reading it. And I am glad I did because this book is fantastic. It is fantastic. So I would say that's the main con for me. The only other con for me that comes to mind, and this is a personal one because horror is subjective. I say that in a lot of my videos. Horror is very subjective. Everyone has their own opinions. Everyone has their own like flavor that they like, their own taste of horror. What one person likes, another person might not like. And that's just a personal taste. For me, I think that this was a little bit too extreme. I love horror. And if this was a movie, I probably wouldn't have been as put off, which is really bizarre. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but my flavor of horror can be a little bit different when it comes to movies, but I find books so immersive. And I think that's the difference, is that I actually become more immersed when I'm reading compared to when I'm watching. So I get more disturbed when I'm reading, if that makes sense. So I think that this book was just a little bit too disturbing for me, and it really sat with me. I think it was just a bit too much. It ended up like really turning my stomach and made me feel quite ill. So I think just this kind of subgenre of horror isn't necessarily for me, and that would be my second con. But as I said, that is totally personal and not something like bad about the book, just like it wasn't for me, I don't think. So I ended up giving this book a 3 out of 5 stars because I was conflicted about it. Ultimately though, I do like this book and I think it is a great book. I think it is a very unique story, and if you want to read something that is quite extreme, if you want to read something that is emotional and disturbing and freaky, weird, very, very different, then this one, The Troop by Nick Cutter, is definitely for you. I actually think I will buy another Nick Cutter book and read another Nick Cutter book, because I really did enjoy the way this was written, and I love the detail at most parts of the book. I think maybe they could have been less detail at some parts of the book, but for the most part, I thought it was fantastic. So 3 out of 5 stars I felt was a really good rating for this one. And yeah, you know what? I'm glad to have it in my collection. I'm glad that I bought it. It's definitely worth the money. And like I said, I would happily read and try another Nick Cutter book. I actually really want to try The Deep by Nick Cutter. It sounds like it's about another virus type thing where people are losing their memories or something. So that sounds very interesting, and if it's anything like this, then I know it's gonna grip me at least. So I think I might give that a go, but let me know in the comments if you think I should read The Deep, or if there's another Nick Cutter book that you think I should read. I'm always open to recommendations and suggestions, so please feel free to let me know. But yeah, if you want to read this, you can pick it up from Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you buy books. I think it was maybe $18. Yeah, it was $18. I have a little discount card, so I got it a little bit cheaper, but yeah, it's well worth the money, well worth the purchase. And if you're looking for something that's extreme, then this is definitely one for you. Hope you guys enjoyed this little review of The Troop by Nick Cutter, and if you are interested in seeing more reviews, vlogs, and reading vlogs, and all that good stuff in between, then feel free to like this video and feel free to subscribe. I talk about lots of horror books and lots of thriller books, and also mystery, if that's your thing. I love a good murder mystery. So yeah, if you want to see more of that, feel free to subscribe. But in the meantime, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone!